you. All right, we're going to do a roll call and just advise that we're going to have a member. We're going to Steve will be joining us by conference call, so he's going to be hearing everything that we're having to discuss, and he's also able to vote through his conference call. He's got a packet of all the necessary materials, so he is informed to make a valid decision on this board. Roll call. Gary Jansen. And of course, he's not present. Well, that's perfect. Paul Spranger is present, of course. Brian Shelton.
Here.
Rick Schellenberger. Scott Phillips.
Here.
Steve Conway. He's joining us by conference. Toby Meadows. Not present. So with the conference call and having Steve on with us, we can then therefore declare a quorum, so we can proceed with tonight's agenda. I'd like in regarding the setting and amending the agenda, I move that we approve. If I can get a second.
Second.
We have a second. And a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And just for the records, Steve has responded aye. So the agenda passes. Now we'll ask for an approval of the draft minutes, which everyone has in their packet. That's the July 6th, 22 draft minutes. And I make the motion that we approve those minutes. And may I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the motion passes. Next item up is communications. So I'm asking staff if you've got any communications you'd like to address. Ray, he said we're a public hearing. We'll move that way, Ray. All right, we've got a couple of public hearings tonight. It's before the Courses Planning and Zoning Board. And the first read is a review of SD 2022-2, application of the City of Valley Center to City Code 16.04, who is petitioning for approval of a final plat for the land located south of the intersection of Ford Street and Dexter Avenue, and that's up on the screen. And is currently unaddressed, however, in Valley Center. And the zip code on that is 67147. Okay, there we go. Now I'll open the hearing for comments from the public, and we'll start the time at 7:04.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I know life happens, and unfortunately, we're not able to have many board members present tonight, but we're worked where we have a quorum. So thank you so much. Again, the first case this evening is approval of the final plat. This is for the subdivision now known as Sunflower Valley, which is south of the intersection of Dexter and Ford here in Valley Center. This property is currently owned by the City of Valley Center, and as was shared during last month's board meeting for the preliminary plat, the city is looking to sell off sections of this property into private ownership, the frontage to Casado McKay for commercial development, and then the back part to Crane Company for our new, amazing, innovative concrete printed, 3D printed duplexes. So again, this is the final plat, and we have made a few revisions from the preliminary plat, namely the creation of another reserve area, just with the configuration of land on the west side. But we are still retaining the 2 lots in the front and then the 5 lots in the back, with now 5 reserve areas. I will note that reserves A and C will be retained in ownership by the city. This is for in relation to the stormwater and drainage project that was done a few years ago, that the city does need to retain ownership of that detention pond, as well as the drainage canal that runs through the property. The other reserves will be owned by the Crane Company that will be buying the back portion of this property. As always, the public notice was put in the Ark Valley News and a letter sent to the surrounding property owners. As of this evening, I have not received any written or phone calls or any kind of communications from anyone that either had questions or were opposed to this, opposed to the preliminary or final plat. So city staff is recommending approval of this final plat application. What will happen next is, as the board, once you vote to approve it, it'll then go before city council for final approval at their September 6th city council meeting. And then once city council approves it, it will be registered and recorded in the Register of Deeds office, Sedgwick County Register of Deeds office. Stand for any questions you may have. I will note that we have 3 representatives from SEH, the engineering firm that put together the preliminary and final platting documents for the city. And I know they'd be able to answer any questions as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else in the public would like to address? Public hearing is still open.
Yeah.
Would the petitioner like to address?
I'm representing the petitioner as the city.
petitioner.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're representing. All right. Well, at that point, I think we've all reviewed this package, including the 2.
I have a
Oh,
question. Paul.
Yes. Oh, fire away.
Did you, I was under the impression that these are all going to be single-family homes that we're looking at now, and you said duplexes a minute ago. Did you misspeak, or is it?
No. No. So the back portion, those are going to be duplexes. That's why we created a couple of months ago the R4, the high density multifamily. This project that's going in this back area is going to be duplexes, not single family homes. That is correct. So that's one of the reasons why we created the new zoning district, which will be reviewed in the next case application, is to make it possible to build those 3D printed duplexes in this back area.
So when we talked last week about them being approximately 1,500 square feet, is that 1,500 per unit?
Total building size, yeah. And is that
Total
still-
building
is that still
size is
accurate?
1,500
You know?
square feet for 2 units?
Yeah, I think this needs to be. And then also, I'll add to that. And that is, my question is, is there a mix of single family and duplexes, or is it shifted to duplexes?
Yeah.
You've got the floor.
Sure. So the building mix itself will be a mixture of duplexes, which are 2 units together in one structure. In general, the footprint is 40 by 60. So that is about 2,400 square feet. So each unit will be about 1,200.
And last time you mentioned it's a 3-bedroom, 2 baths. She'll have approximately a 1,200 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath residence.
Correct.
Every residence has a garage, or only a few? A carport.
Correct. So there are parking requirements required for any multifamily, including this one. So there'll be the duplex building, and then there'll also be what we call a carriage house building, which is garages on the first floor and then a unit above. And I haven't seen the carriage floor plan myself.
We haven't yet.
Yeah, so I believe the developer's still working through the architecture portion of it, but one will be a duplex where it's just 2 units, single floor, and then the other unit will be a variation of some kind of a carriage where there's garages on the first floor and then a unit above on the second floor.
Last time we talked, I was confused, I think. You said there's no on-street parking, or is that only for the alleys?
That's correct, no on-street parking. Or that's only for the alleys, correct. But so I guess to clarify, the on-street parking does not count towards their parking requirement for the duplexes. So it parks itself off-street, to clarify.
Yeah,
So-
each unit, per the zoning code, each unit in each duplex is required to have at least one dedicated off-street parking space. So that will be accomplished either in a space in one of the garage buildings, or in some cases, I believe, in the proposals that we've seen, it's off of Hayes Street that you see here. There will be a few covered carport buildings to accommodate those off-street parking requirements for those duplexes.
So we haven't really addressed what the mix would be from single family to duplex.
So all of what you see here from this proposal, these are all, so each of these squares represent the rooftop.
I got
They're
that.
either going to be a garage building with the unit above or a duplex.
Okay.
There will be there's proposed to be no single family in this development. These are all duplexes.
So if we read last week's minutes or whatever, it says the average square footage of the single family homes to be 1,500 square foot. There will be 0 single family homes. It'll only be duplexes, and the square footage will approximately be 1,200, not 1,500.
I think that might be an error in the minutes, so I apologize for that.
Yeah, that's okay. So last meeting was a little different than this meeting. Would that be a fair
And again,
statement?
right now, we're just addressing the platting. We're not addressing the rezoning. That's the next application. So what we're
No, I
doing right
understand.
now is
We
reviewing the
understand
final
the
plat.
plat, but also the department has some guidance in this in terms of that development. And so my question, also his question, I think, is that have we changed guidance on this project? Is there some economic drivers that we aren't talking about in terms of how this project's going to finally develop out? Obviously, we're going to have a greater density than, not that that's all bad, but there's going to be a greater density here. So I think everybody needs to understand that. Okay. All right. That's, well, we appreciate the clarification.
One more
Absolutely.
question for Ryan.
Yes.
So we're approving the final plat. Next time will come the rezoning question, whether we go to the R4, correct?
So yes, so what we're doing right now we're reviewing the final plat application. Once we get through this application, the next one I'll be presenting to you is the rezoning application, and we'll get into that through that staff report. So right now we're
Okay.
just looking
Yeah, we're
strictly
just-
at going from where it is 2 parcels of land right now
Right.
into what's shown on the final plat.
That's right. This is just a plat, but it's worth exploring some of the details.
Absolutely. And so again, what will happen is after you vote tonight, this will then go before City Council on September 6th.
Right.
They'll
No.
review it and then vote on whether or not to approve it. As long as they approve it, as long
Sure.
as you approve it, then it will be recorded at the Register of Deeds office.
Yeah. Well, the construction technique is going to be exciting, I think, for all of us to watch.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I think that's definitely a net positive. We just want to make sure that from a community standpoint that, we're looking at
Yes.
our community guidance appropriately for this project.
Mhm.
We like to be excited about it, but we also want to keep it appropriate to the community. Okay. Well, that's,
Do we know timeframe, assuming everything is approved?
So right now, SEH is also doing the construction documents for all of the infrastructure. So the streets, the water, sanitary sewer, stormwater, all of those construction documents are being finalized at this time.
good.
With the plan that we submit bids or advertise the project via bidding. And then in mid-October, the bids will be opened and then approved. The construction company or companies be approved to start, to be authorized to do the work in mid-October by City Council. And then actually start the work based on mobilization, perhaps as early as mid-November. And so that would
Well,
start the
that's terrific.
streets and the water and the sewer.
Yeah. Well, time-
Also in speaking with Crane Company, as long as we have some initial infrastructure and some some temporary streets put in. We've also been in discussions about hopefully starting to issue building permits for these
Right.
around that same time as well. Once grading has to be done first to the entire site. So there's some mass grading that needs to be done. But once that's done, then the goal of the developer at this time is to start in the northwest corner of that section of the project with duplexes. So depending on the weather, depending on bids and mobilization, whatever companies hired to do this work, a lot of factors. But again, we are hopeful that we could start to see construction before the end of 2022.
Yeah, that's times of the essence, given the fact we have with interest rates and the rest of it. So
Yes.
it really is, and I think everybody on the board appreciates that.
Yes.
And really do. It's an economic reality. And we want a project to be successful, not partially built out and then it languishes. So,
Mhm.
yeah, we want to definitely encourage where we can to move the thing forward. All right. At this point, unless there's any other questions, from the board?
Steve, did you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Okay, if you no other questions, we'll close the public hearing at 7:15. And then at this point, I think I'll move to approve based on the city staff recommendations, public comments, and what we've discussed so far, to approve SD 2022-02 and wait for a second. We have a motion and a second. So now we call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Steve?
Aye.
Thank you.
Hearing none. We will move that project will move on to city council.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. All right. Item 2. Once again, and your staff will be presenting, I think, on this one, is review of RZ 2022-03 application of the Valley Center, Kansas, pursuant to city code. In this case, it's 17.11, and who is petitioning for a rezone of land that is currently zoned RR1, which is the city designation for a suburban residential district, to C2 and R2, or correction, R4, which is the city's designation for general business district and high density multiple family residential district, respectively. This land is currently unaddressed, is bare land, but located south of the intersection of Ford Street and Dexter Avenue in Valley Center. And of course, the zip code is 67147. At this point, at 7:17, I'll open the hearing for comments from the public.
All right, so now that the plating has been reviewed, next we move on to the rezoning. So with this, we are looking at a couple of different zoning districts. And again, I would remind the board, just to provide again some general history. The Ford Street property was acquired by the city a number of years ago in conjunction with a major stormwater project that was done along Meridian and Ford to help alleviate flooding in that area. With the creation of this Ford Street property, we have the large detention pond, which again will be retained in ownership by the city of Valley Center. And then we were looking to sell. We have been looking to sell for a few years now. Some of the excess property that we don't necessarily need in conjunction with the stormwater project. And so we have agreed purchase agreements with Casado McKay as well as Crane Company. And these rezonings along with the plating was necessary in order to facilitate the selling of those portions of land. And so what you see in this rezoning application, again, the frontage, there are 2 lots. That's Block A, lots 1 and 2. This is an aerial that is on the screen now that shows the approximate area. And so these 2 areas, again, are being bought by Casado McKay with the intention of constructing some commercial type buildings, either an events venue, a restaurant, I know has been discussed. But again, Casado McKay will be the owners that will be buying this once the plat is officially recorded at the Register of Deeds office. And so the reason why we're requesting the C2 zoning is to be in harmony with what they're looking to do with the property once they buy it. Anything commercial with these 2 lots, you would see again with a site plan application. So let's say hypothetically that they go ahead and decide they're going to build a restaurant. Before we would issue a building permit to do that, the applicant, in this case Casado McKay, will be required to go through the site plan review process with the city staff review team and you as the planning and zoning board. So you're going to see something, at least one more application with these 2 lots. I would think maybe 2 applications. I don't know at this point, but at least 1. So keep that in mind that once this is successfully rezoned, that Casado McKay will be working through the site plan review process, and those plans will be presented to this board at a later date. I don't know if that'll be this year or 2023, but again, that is their intent with the city's request to rezone this to C2. The back area, again, with the creation of the new R4 high-density multiple family zoning district, with the creation of that, Crane Company, which is going to be buying the back portion of this property, is requesting a rezoning to allow for the construction again of the 3D printed duplexes. And again, I apologize for any confusion that there might have been on my part in saying that there were going to be single family homes back here. I apologize for any confusion on the staff part for that. But again, the intent right now is that Crane Company will be constructing again the duplexes and then the garage buildings with one unit above to support those duplex buildings. There will be a few reserves in this area as well that will be used for recreational purposes. But again, with the construction of these duplexes, we are asking for the rezoning to R4 to accommodate that. And also want to make sure that you are aware that we will be following all building codes and all fire codes. Yes, this is pretty high densely packed, but we will, I want to rest any concerns that you have, but this will meet all existing building and fire codes to make sure that this is built safely and in a way that is safe for the residents and the tenants that will occupy these these future duplexes. Again, this has been reviewed by the city staff review team. We are recommending approval. Just as a reminder, what happens with the rezoning is that once the board recommends approval, this goes before city council with a rezoning ordinance. So city council reviews this as well. There will be the standard 2 readings for this rezoning ordinance. Again, the first reading would be on September 6th, at the September 6th city council meeting. With this application, notices were put in the newspaper as well as sent out to the surrounding property owners. There were no letters or any responses in terms of opposition to this rezoning, either to the commercial or residential or high density residential on the back portion of this property. So no negative responses or even questions from members of the community. And again, city staff is recommending approval of this rezoning application and then submission to city council for final approval with a rezoning ordinance.
Okay, the public hearing is still open. Open it up for questions from the board.
What's the total number of units if the development is finished?
Jake, can you answer that one? Do you remember, or Brent, do you remember the total number of buildings? Did you say buildings or units?
Well, either.
I think they're around 80 buildings.
So 160 units.
Not all of them were duplexes, though, I don't believe.
You said a total of 80 buildings?
80 buildings.
So some of those will be the garages.
Yep. The garages with, I believe, 1 unit above. But
Right.
again, I didn't see the final on the carriage house, which has the garages, on how many units are in those buildings. So
78. It's 78.
And this, and
Yeah, you're close. Yeah.
78
you might-
buildings, which would be what, 156 units?
they were all duplexes, it'd be 156.
Okay, having ran the numbers and we're going to R4 in order to accommodate cost, what are the anticipated rents of the units for a 3 and 2?
Yanni,
I know the applicant Crane Company is still working on their market, figuring out what that rate is going to be. They are in the process of looking at some other funding sources to help build these in terms of grants, potential loans. I'm 1,200. I'll defer to Brent on this one.
and the chair recognizes Brent.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? Good. Yes, exciting times here in Valley Center as we continue to grow and expand. And so the rents on this one, they're targeting kind of that $1,200 to $1,300 a month plus utilities is what their kind of target is right now. Of course, they won't know until they have the final product. They have not constructed one of these. This would be actually the first concrete building in Kansas. So, as they continue to really master this product, we will be right along there with them on identifying issues that we see and making sure that the end product is something that doesn't just stand today's time, but also the test of time as we move forward. This is an ideal location for high density, as is right along the train tracks, as well as isolated to the southern part of this area. There's nothing to the south. To the southwest, of course, is Magellan, and also to the north is a junkyard or repair shop. So this is an ideal location for high density. Of course, with any R4 or any rezoning, you always have to be strategic in where you locate these types of zoning areas. So if you do look at our current future land use map, this is in collaboration with that as well. So I'll stand for any questions.
I have one.
Yes.
How is this, how is the school district responded to this additional density?
They are eager and willing to, of course, review all their school district facilities. They actually began that process last year, or this past spring. Sorry, last school year, but this past spring, and I know that they're underway right now with the facilities study as they're exploring potential. If they need to expand, if they need new buildings, if they just need to add on to current infrastructure, and they're going through those discussions as a board right now. So I'd
Okay.
encourage everybody to make sure to keep an eye on their meetings as well, and exciting times happening in Valley Center.
And I guess the last question would be in terms of the additional policing required, especially for rentals. Has that been addressed with the?
These are higher end rentals. This is an area where our current 17 or 18, depending upon the day, certified officers absolutely can handle. We are looking at adding 2 full-time firefighters next fiscal year, so we're addressing that issue as well, and do plan on having a strategic plan for that department for PD and fire moving forward into the future to address not only this area, but the over 400 single-family homes that are coming online. So
Right.
this is a great area, as we do have single-family homes ranging from the price of $250 all the way to $2 million. And so, that area is getting addressed. So this multifamily area is just prime, ready to go.
Okay. Well, one thing about it is that from a fire standpoint, they should be rated pretty well, given the fact they're concrete.
Absolutely. Just as soon as long as you just get the folks out, right away first, and then you're good to go. So you can kind
I
of
think your
sit
fire
back.
insurance should look pretty good.
Mhm.
Okay. So but it is the intent that these are going to be rentals.
Yes,
That's-
absolutely.
Okay. So there's no question about that.
Never has
And,
been
and they're going to be properly managed by the rental company.
by the developer.
The developer is the developer going to spin these off, or is he going to continue to own and operate?
They'll continue to own and operate, of course. In any new type of construction, opportunities, they want to make sure that it's a good product for years to come. So they're going to retain ownership of it. That's what this group does. Crane or Anderson Crane Investment Group is actually they have over 2,500 doors that they manage throughout the Wichita, Kansas City area. So this is not something new to them.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
I have a question. The incoming road, there's an oblong reserve, something there right by the first. What is that?
It just will be their welcome sign. Kind of their little island to own, maintain. That's not something the city wants to maintain, but so kind of a landmark or a marker for the development, as well as they've explored potentially put mailboxes there. I know that may or may not happen in that location, but just kind of a nice entry point to this development.
So that's what's being constructed right now.
No.
No, not yet. Okay. Okay. I do have a question just an aside that has nothing pertaining to this development, but we do have one on, they were starting to build a monument signage on 85th Street.
Yes, that's a city one. Yep. So that'd be a city entryway welcome sign. And
Yeah, I
this one will
thought that
be
was
a
what it
private
was, but I
development
think it
one.
would be good to go public with that. That's a great addition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
you know,
Please
we
check
gotta-
out our social media on Facebook, Twitter. I don't think I've done TikTok yet on that one. Instagram.
But
and all
we
those
have to be competitive with our sister city in
Absolutely.
terms of those. Yeah, it's good to see that.
Yep.
I would-
And if you haven't looked up yet, make sure you take a look at the water tower. It's kind of
Oh, the
Kind of
water
right.
tower, I think, isn't that getting national notoriety to the point that we may get elected to some award?
absolute. Every award that we possibly can apply for will be done.
Yeah, those are the things that develop a real community. I mean, that was just extremely well done.
Absolutely.
Anyway, with
Just
that,
like this rezoning, this is a great opportunity for, Valley Center to, be the first, and definitely in the Midwest and in the nation when it comes to this number of high density 3D printed structures. There's not anything like it in the country when
Right.
it comes to this type of development. So the rezoning on not only the frontage to C2, but also on R4 on the backside will really fit well with our progress.
Yeah, it should be really interesting. Any more questions from the board with all of this? All right.
Thank you,
At this
Brent.
point, based on the city staff recommendations, public comments to date, and discussion by the Planning and Zoning Board, I hereby make a motion to.
Oh, Paul, I'm sorry. We need to close the public hearing first.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. We're going to close the public hearing at 7:31. And now we'll move to the motion. Based on city staff recommendations and public comments and discussion by the Planning and Zoning Board, I make the motion to approve RZ 2022-03, seconded. If there's a second.
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Any opposed? You're seeing no opposed. The motion carries.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, it'll be interesting to see. We're looking forward to you giving us updates along the way on this project from when you're in staff with the developer, and then give us a little briefing at each one of
Definitely. Yes.
each one of our meetings. I think that would be really useful.
I would also echo what Brent said. We are trying to be more active on social media, on Facebook and other platforms.
Right.
So, and then if you do not have the city app, we have an amazing city app. And I would recommend, if you don't have it, please download it on your phone. We do notifications on street closures, projects like this, other events and activities.
Right.
So there's a wealth of information to be had on the city app. So if you don't have it, download it. It's free, and a lot of good information there too that we're working to get to out to the residents.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you very much. for
Thank
that.
you. Yep.
Well, at this point, we're going to move on to old and unfinished business. So take
None at this
it
time.
away. None?
No old or unfinished business. No.
Oh, boy. All right, now we'll move into new business. And the first item on new business, City of Valley Center CIP presentation by Barry Smith. Draft of the 2023-2032 Valley Center CIP will be found at the following link.
All right. Yes, it is my pleasure to introduce Barry Smith. Those of you that don't know Barry, Barry serves as our Assistant City Administrator and Director of Finance Administration. He's here to present the updated CIP, and this is being presented to you first, and then will be presented to City Council, but I will turn it over to Barry.
All right. Be sure to state your name for the public.
Good evening. As Ryan mentioned, I'm Barry Smith. Wow. Barry Smith, the Assistant City Administrator and Finance Director. Today I'm be presenting the 2023-32 draft plan of our CIP. This is now an annual basis where we'll come and present this to the Planning and Zoning Board to get your approval of the newest additions to the plan, our current progress on the plan, make sure it conforms to the comprehensive plan of the city, and then it will move on to City Council for overall approval from them as well. So this document is on our website right now. It's under the finance section, financial documents under the CIP. Our comprehensive plan here, it's our overall capital improvement plan, but it is a living, breathing document. It can be changed, modified, reviewed any point in time. As I go through here, kind of give a brief overview. This is our normal CIP cycle. We'll have projects submitted, we'll evaluate them, select them, do our financial analysis, prepare them for the plan, get them inserted to the plan, review and adoption of the plan itself with all the new projects in it. So this is just our 5-year history here. We've been pretty busy since 2018. Got a lot of things done. There's stormwater improvements right outside of City Hall here. The phase 3 upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant, our new fire truck, air packs, radios. Done an awful lot so far. So this is our overall project list for the 10-year period. We'd like to get as many projects in here as we can. And then as we fine tune them and narrow them down, we lower the project number down to like the next years. And that's what this list is here. So each cycle is on a 2-year cycle, and we try to keep that 2-year cycle around a $2 to $2.5 million mark. when it comes to financings, especially with ad valorem taxes. We don't want to have that mill levy creep up in our bond and interest fund. We want to keep those pretty steady as we move forward. So we're not having big fluctuations, and we're using the tax dollars like we should. So the 22-23 cycle has a lot of projects on here. We have the Meridian Street, Ford Street, utility extensions at Ford and Dexter. So with the final plat and rezonings you just approved, once that goes to City Council for their approval, if approved there, this project will then assist that by bringing those utilities to that property line. And then from the property line in, those will all be specials at that point. Kind of hard to see. Yeah. Also in this cycle is the Pool and Rec Center starting next year. We did our water tower rehab with the new paint job, our new fire truck, and our HOA signs as well. But right now slated for the 24-25 cycle is some stormwater improvements from Main Street to 3rd Street. After the Meridian Main to 5th project is completed, that stormwater project will run west to finish out that overall drainage issue in that area. Along with that is Seneca, along our TIF district between 4th and 5th Street. This was recently approved for a cost share from the state of Kansas. We got $1 million towards that project to help with those construction costs. So very grateful for that partnership with them. And then at our last city council meeting, we did approve the RFP for the new water treatment plant. So that is also in the 24-25 CIP cycle to get that up and going and running. Start the construction at that point. I think the overall time frame on that is about 48 months from beginning to end. So that'll be perfect timing to get that funding in there to get that construction started and then finish that out. And last but not least is the 26-27 cycle, and all we have in there for right now is what's being proposed is the Emporia Street extension to go from basically the public safety building all the way back behind the school and the golf course to eventually connect with the new Pool and Rec location in that area. So this is our spending over the next 5 years. As you see, those numbers total a lot. But when we come down here by the source, the one we really want to pay attention to is this ad valorem line here. So those are our property tax dollars. And out of all those totals there, once you average those out, we spend about 2 to 2.5 million per CIP cycle. So it's actually working out really well. Oh, sorry. This ad valorem line here, this is what's paid for by the property tax dollars. And the amounts in here are the grand totals. These do not include our cash contributions that we're going to be making over this period of time. We kind of switched how we started budgeting since 2020. And we're starting to utilize cash more. So we're not overloading with debt because that would be not very beneficial for a community that's growing. So we want to utilize that cash, pair it in the best way we can with that long-term debt so we can sustain that growth over time. So that's what we're doing there. The special revenue bonds there, those are TIF bonds and the sales tax revenue for the TIF district and the Pool and Rec Center. Everything else is just from where it is. The general fund transfers, the special streets, that's our sales tax dollars that were generated from all of Sedgwick County. Then they send us our portion of that. So those are kind of the cash injections we're going to put into those to get our total spendings there. So I know that's a lot to take in and handle. So we have these virtual tours and these dashboards on our city website. I'll show you how to get there. Made it pretty easy on the front page. If you look at the city logo up here, give it a couple seconds. It will switch to our new residential developments page. And then also with that CIP dashboard, you can look at our current projects and completed projects. It gives you a snapshot of everything going on with that project. For example, the water tower. It shows you all the funding sources, construction start times, everything there. So you don't got to read an entire document to find out what's going on. That may not be updated all the time. This is updated weekly, if not every other day. Shows examples, pictures, our budget to actual numbers, and the percentage complete of the projects, and everything like that. And then also with our new residential developments we have going on, we created a virtual tour of all those, kind of keep tabs on all those. since we have so many going on with all the housing and the 3D printed homes and those areas. So you can come in here and hit present and basically fly through the city. It'll take you to each development, what that development consists of, the platting, the marketing. As these start to build out, all the marketing from the developers will come to us. We'll put it on the website. So it's like a one-stop location to make sure you know what's going on within the city limits here. The district, but they're all in here. All of our new ones, proposed ones, and current ones going on right now. So then to finish out the plan, it's just each project. Each project has a scope, background, location, justification, community impact, and operating impacts. Just to give everybody all the information possible. These are the best practices determined by GFOA for the CIP plans. So we like to have as much information in there as possible. The most recent additions from last year's CIP kind of touched on the Emporia Street extension, the Ford and Dexter utility extensions for the 3D property, Seneca Street, now that one's a go with the cost share agreement, and the water treatment plant have all now been plugged into the plan. So with that, I'll kind of stand for any questions, and if there's no questions, ask for a.
Okay, we'll open up the questions from the public. Seeing none, we'll open up to the board. Questions? I guess probably one of the questions I would ask is that, and it's going to be whoever, and I know having some experience involved with city budgets, how tough it is. It because with the inflation cycle that we're currently in, and hopefully it'll moderate. I'm sure you probably built that into the model a little, at least to some degree.
Yeah, in the past, inflation has averaged between 1.5 to 2%.
Right.
We plan on about a 4.25% inflation year over year for these estimates. So something's 4 years out.
Okay.
I mean, it's 16%
That's what you're
overestimated.
using
So
for an assumption.
it's built into the assumptions.
Okay. Because you're going to have those 2003 or 2023 items are going to be about 30 million. That's going to be probably right, maybe at the peak of inflation, or at least it's going to start hopefully moderating. So I guess it'll respect in those bids. So, but no, it's exciting to see Valley Center, addressing some of the need areas, and also with a vision to create a real sense of community. And I think the water tower was a great start. I think some of these other projects can also be a great start. But you've got a tough job trying to keep all the balls in the air with those projects. Different than it was probably 3 years ago. So
Pretty tough, but I love it. So.
it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, questions from the board. And Chair, you sure no one's really got anything you want to add to this? This opportunity. Okay, well, I think the website idea, so that it's total transparency to the community, is a great one. And also, showing the vision is in addition to just the costs, so that there's a balance there, so people can understand where their money's going to go.
Yep.
That's going to be good. Well, thank you for your presentation. We
Thank
look
you very
forward
much.
to digging into the detail on the website.
Problem.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. At this point, from staff, we don't have to take action on this. Is that correct? Do we have to take a vote on this?
Barry, they do not need to vote on this. Recommend approval? Yeah. Okay, yes, yeah, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion
Okay, we do
to
wanna-
approve
we
this
do wanna
draft
move on.
plan.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion at this time that we approve the draft, and we have to emphasize draft of the 2023 to now 10 years into 32 Valley Center CIP. And we also, of course, I'm going to read the link for the record, and that's Valley Center and .org//document center. And those two words run together, and they are capitalized. /view capitalized 6382 /CIP, all in caps, -2023, and to extend to 2032. So that's a 10-year period with a hyphen and during a capitalized draft. So, but it also, I think there's a link on the website, is that correct, from the city? So you won't really have to type all that in. No. But anyway, just for the record, we know it's there, and we sure encourage the population and citizens of the city to dive into that and be, active. All right.
Motion by Paul, just need a
I
second.
guess I've made the motion to approve, and I'll call for a
Scott.
second. We have a second, and I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Hearing none of no opposed, the motion carries. And we'll go on to the next item. Thank you. Thanks for the presentation, and thank you very much for your presentation. All right. At this point, I guess we're into staff reports.
No other reports this evening. Again, thank you everyone for being here.
And the last thing is I think there's anything else we need to move on, we can call for adjournment. So I move to
Steve,
adjourn.
sorry, Steve, was there any other items that you had for the board tonight?
No.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you again for joining us via the phone call. Thank you.
All right, so I move to adjourn this particular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board and ask for a second. I hear a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
All aye. And no, hearing none opposed, we stand adjourned until our next meeting, which staff will remind everybody of.
Yes, our next meeting, of course, they're always except for December, on the 4th Tuesday of the month. So our next meeting is scheduled for September 27th, 7 p.m. in this room.